For many people, buying a Rolex is the pinnacle of their watch journey, perhaps even more for the casual enthusiast rather than the hardcore. As we know, Rolex is a particularly contentious brand. I spent years and years obsessing over the Rolex Air King, reference 116900. I kept looking at it, and finally I took the decision to buy my dream Rolex, the one watch that was going to end my collection journey, the finishing piece. And when I picked it up, I had the biggest grin on my face you've ever seen. And then a year later, I sold it completely emotionless, as if I was selling an old microwave on Facebook Marketplace. So what happened? Just a bit of background on why I love this watch. I've worked in aviation for many years, and I was coming to the end of my time there and switching to a different industry. The Air King has its roots in aviation, albeit in 1945 when the original was launched to commemorate RAF pilots after World War II. I also loved the look of the Air King. It was classy, but understated and a little bit more subtle, and I loved the pop of colour on the dial with the green Rolex logo, a much more vintage style and something that I really dig. I was convinced that having bought so many different watches at all different price points, by having this Rolex that I had been lusting after for so many years, I thought this was going to be the end game. I thought, once I've got this, I'll be satisfied. So what did I actually think of the Air King? Well, it's a really, really great watch. The finishing is, as you'd expect from Rolex, flawless. The dial looked exactly as it did in all the tens of YouTube videos and articles that I'd read and pictures I'd seen. It looked perfect. The bracelet is absolutely phenomenal. I think it's one of the best in the industry. The way the clasp operates, the tight tolerances down to thousandths of an inch, the way everything feels. Objectively, I could see what all the hype was about, but something was missing. I just didn't feel anything towards it. I just saw it in my watch box, I respected it, I thought it was really cool that I had managed to own a Rolex in my lifetime, but I just felt completely emotionless to it. So then I thought, well, the best thing to do is to create some memories with this watch, because then it will really mean something to me. So on a visit back home to visit friends and family, I had the Rolex on my wrist most of the time, and I did a couple of really cool things in it. I went flying in a World War I aircraft as a passenger, and that was an amazing experience. And I had the Air King on my wrist. And what better way to celebrate a watch commemorating the RAF than to go up in the sky in a vintage aircraft. And then, with one of my very good friends in Scotland, I went hiking and saw some beautiful scenery, really beautiful scenery. And yes, I was making memories with the watch. And then my visit finished, I got home, and I still didn't feel any connection with the Rolex. And after a year with what I thought was my dream watch, I put it up for sale. I sold it through Chrono24. I didn't make any money really, because by the time they take their cut and the percentage, I was basically back where I started. Nothing gained, nothing lost, but definitely lessons learned. Watches, I think, are a little bit like shoes. You can do all the research you want online, but until you put a shoe on your foot, walk around for a bit, have a feel, see how it looks on you, see how it feels on you, and see what your personal experience is with that item. You don't know how much you really like it. You can only ever really guess. When I review watches, I often need at least a week to formulate my thoughts. And what I thought on the first day and how I felt then is not always how I feel after a week of wrist time. So it's really difficult to make these decisions right, and that is part of the fun of collecting. But it's something you need to be aware of when you talk about massively hyped watches.
Just a quick note in the edit. What I'm trying to say here is that if you're going to spend a once in a lifetime sum of money on a watch, then you really want to make sure you get it right first time. And that's not easy with the buying process for Rolex and other in-demand sports watches.
I definitely realised that price is not so important to me in terms of whether I will really connect with a watch. I've talked about this Mido diver a few times on the channel. This is roughly $1,000, this watch. Sometimes you can pick it up a little bit cheaper. And this is the watch that I love the most in my collection, and I can tell you I have far more feeling towards this watch than I ever did with an Air King, and you could buy 5 of these, maybe even 6, for the price of an Air King. So the price for me as a collector might give me an expectation of fit and finish, but it doesn't mean I will or will not connect with a watch. Another lesson that I definitely learned here is that one watch is not for everybody. I enjoy having a varied collection. I enjoy being able to try different types of watches fairly regularly. Buying and selling is part of that, but also having a constant collection of sort of 10 watches that stay permanent in my collection and I rotate between them. And for me, I honestly, hand on heart, get more enjoyment out of that rotation than I would do out of just one watch. And finally, trying to create memories with a watch that you're not really bonding with means you'll still have great memories, but it won't change your opinion towards the watch. So in conclusion, this is no diss on the Air King. I still think it's a wicked watch and it's gonna make some people extremely happy. But it wasn't me, and I was so convinced and hyped up for this watch. And I think it's an interesting point of consideration with watches, especially when you're gonna spend a lot of money, whatever a lot of money is for you, whether that's $200, $2,000 or $20,000, we all have different definitions of this. But just have your eyes open and be prepared to be surprised, good and bad. And I suppose, in the end, that's part of the journey. But that's why I bought my Rolex, I was over the moon to get it, and then I sold it with no emotion at all. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I do a lot of reviews. Talking of reviews, this is the next review that's coming. It's an American assembled true GMT, so it should be a good one. But just back to today's video, if you have any experiences to share of buying a luxury watch or a once in a lifetime watch purchase, whatever that may be, whatever the brand, please let me know. Did you get it right first time? Did you go through the same experience as me? Did you learn anything along the way? I'm always really interested to hear your thoughts. And thank you again to all my subscribers, and I look forward to seeing all of you on the next one. Cheers.